Hi, and welcome to The Conversation with me, Amanda de Cadenet. We all have busy lives, and I know it's sometimes difficult to listen to a full podcast. And that's why I'm excited to share with you a new format that I've come up with called The Chat. The Chat is an offshoot of The Conversation where we'll get to know our guests by asking a handful of questions that just get straight to it in typical Amanda fashion. And to kick off the chat, I am really excited to welcome my friend who is an actress, director, and producer, Phoebe Tonkin. Phoebe, welcome to the chat.
Hi, Phoebes.
Hi, Amanda.
It's so nice to see you. We've never done this before.
We've never done this.
We've done a lot of things together, but not this.
I know.
What is one big way that you've changed for the better?
I mean, I don't think I can think of just one.
Okay, give me a few.
I would say in the last, 10 years, I've definitely had a lot more compassion for myself. I have this mantra that I say to myself, and this sort of has been something I've worked on over the last few years, is compassion for myself, compassion for others. It's like when you're on a plane, you put the airbag on yourself, then you put it on the person next to you, your child, and I think that's super important because for a long time, I'm a bit of a people pleaser. I'm like super empathetic. I have so much compassion for people, but I would put other people's feelings first before my own.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, either I would take on that energy or I was ignoring my own issues because I think I'm a good friend and I'm a loyal friend. And I like to hear people's issues and feelings about things. And I really, really neglected my own for a long time. And so one of the bigger things that I've worked on is having compassion for myself. I think the second one is not judging myself. I think it's sort of like it was a meme that I saw that was like all the things that you were so embarrassed about when you were in high school are the things that are kind of part of your personality in your 30s. And it's so true. There are things about me that I used to really try to suppress.
What's one of those things?
I find being at home and being around my loved ones my happy place. And when I am out in public, I get a little frazzled. I get overwhelmed.
It's overstimulating.
Overstimulating. And I would always get really angry at myself. And I'd be like, can't you just be the cool girl that's just like cool, calm, and collected at all times? And there are elements as I've gotten older that I've been able to just take a breath, recenter, and not get so overstimulated, but also not judging that part of me, if that is just part of my personality.
I love that. I love that you're giving yourself a break. What is your idea of freedom?
My idea of freedom, I think that stems from my previous answer, to be honest. I think having compassion for myself and not judging myself, it allows me the freedom to just accept myself. I think everyone, kind of dreads turning 30, or there's this stigma about getting older, and you couldn't pay me to be in my 20s again.
Right.
I'm sure I'll feel that way about my 30s when I'm in my 40s and 50s and vice versa, but freedom to me now feels like being 34 and having the experience, having the knowledge, building friendships that I have, the relationships that I've had. It just feels so satisfying to like.
What gives you hope?
I mean, I think that obviously social media created a lot of issues for this generation, but I do see the generation below me and below that generation are super, super in touch with what is going on in the world. They were kind of raised as activists, and they really want to see a better world for themselves, for their children, for their parents. And it's super inspiring. I don't remember being engaged in anything like that when I was younger.
No, definitely not.
So I'm super energized by the younger generation and how active they are about what's happening in the world.
Oh, that's beautiful. How do you define success?
For me, I think success feels like feeling really content and not feeling like, okay, I've done this and now I need to get to that place, and not feeling like it's a stepping stone to something else, but just feeling content.
Content in the moment with what is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're so wise.
I learned it from you.
You are just, I just love it. When people find out that you're an actress, what is the sort of question that they ask you?
The question that people ask, and again, I'm super compassionate and empathetic, so I try not to judge when people do this, even though it does frustrate me a little bit. I'll say, yeah, I'm an actress, and the question is, well, what have I seen you in? And I'm like, I don't really want to list my resume right now. And chances, a lot of the shows I've done, especially in the early part of my career, were like about mermaids and vampires. So unless you are a 15-year-old or have young kids that watch a show about mermaids, there's a very big chance you won't know any of the things that I've done. But usually that's when people aren't in the industry, it's like super exciting and foreign to them. But when you're the one receiving the question, you're just like, oh, I just would love to change the subject.
Yeah, totally understand. What tells you most about a person?
I really am sensitive to people's energies.
Yeah.
Really, really sensitive. And that's also something I have tried to hone, because also that can be negative as well. Like sometimes other people's energy can really, really destabilize me and derail my own energy.
Well, it's hard to work out what's yours and what's them.
I do think when I meet someone, I can feel their energy and what their maybe intentions are sometimes, but on a more like tangible level, I always think manners are really important, and that's a real telltale sign.
It is, isn't it? It really is. How they treat other people.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree with you on that. What aspects of your emotional life would you most like to grow in?
Good question. So one big thing, and I think it's from being Australian, we are super self-deprecating, and it's lovely and it's good to have humility. You know, one of my books is the 4 agreements. The first agreement, being impeccable with your word, is something that I really try to stick to. Sometimes I'm going to use an event as an example. You go to something and someone will be like, you look so pretty, and you're like, oh gosh, no, I don't like my dress and I don't like my hair, and your dress is prettier, or whatever it is, and you're speaking out how then someone's going to perceive you. You know, even in meetings, when I was younger, I would go to a meeting and whoever I was meeting with would say, you know, I watched your audition, or I watched your episode of this show, and I'd go, because I'm used to the Australian self-deprecating isms of, oh, it wasn't that good, or oh, no, like it wasn't even that good. You should watch this other episode, or da-da-da. And I just have really tried to stop doing that.
There's maybe the Australian piece of it, and there's also that as a beautiful woman, we're not raised to accept and honor our own beauty. It's almost like a shameful thing, because our beauty can make other people uncomfortable. And so I think being self-deprecating is a way to deflect and to say, I'm imperfect. And it's ultimately making yourself smaller.
Yeah, I think it's hard to take a compliment. And that's something I think I've learned over the last few years. There's a big difference between being happy with who you are and being arrogant.
Yes.
Like if someone says, your performance was great, I've learned to just be like, thank you so much for watching it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And allowing it. What is the next story that you feel like you want to tell?
When I was younger and was starting to realize that I wanted to be an actress, this is a really funny reference, but I remember watching Lara Croft. And I remember that movie is set in Cambodia, and I remember watching that and being like, I want to be an actress because I want to visit these countries and I want to explore these cultures, and I ultimately want to share these stories about those cultures in television and film. I did a show a few years ago called Safe Harbor, and it was a story about refugees trying to come to Australia. And to me, that personified exactly the type of project that I wanted to do. I wanted to be a conduit to tell a story that isn't necessarily the type of stories that we see every day on film and TV. So that's definitely kind of where my interest lies.
I know that you directed something, and I was so excited. I was probably more excited than you. What was that experience like for you, and is that something that you want to do again?
Yeah, so I directed a short in 2019, and it was probably the most fun 5 days of filming I've ever had. I think just being an actor in general, you are not necessarily always part of the creative conversations. And what I loved about the process of directing that short was the kind of lead up and the research and the putting together collaborators on that project and all of those things that led up to just the actual filming aspect, which I also really, really loved. When you're just a hired actor, there's only so much input that you have in a project. I see, obviously, Margot Robbie and Lucky Chap. I've seen Sydney Sweeney's been producing some amazing films as well. And it's super inspiring to see actresses take the reins. And ultimately, they're the ones that are going to be at the forefront of this project. And so why can't they be the ones that find them, put them together, find the directors, find the writers, and be like part of the whole experience?
You have a lot more control on what the outcome is. And if it's you and your name and your face and your work that is at the center of it, why would you not want to have more agency over what that experience is and what that team is?
Yeah. There's one project that I'm producing. It's based on a book, Australian book called Dark Lake. And even that, I was part of meetings with the team a couple of weeks ago, and it was so energizing to be part of those conversations. Like, it felt like such a privilege to be part of those conversations. It's a holistic experience of being an artist. And so I don't want to just turn up on set, know my lines, and put in a performance. I would love to be part of the whole mechanics of the whole
I'm excited to see what you do with that. What's the best cake you've ever eaten?
Now, that's a good question. When I was little, me and my sister, my mom would take us to the little French patisserie after school in our law school uniforms and get lemon tarts. Oh. So, I mean, it's a tart, it's not a cake, but if I had to choose my favorite...
If I like a tarte au citron?
Yes. But it's not creamy. It's very, very lemony, very citrusy. And then I actually got a cake recently. This girl I found on Instagram, her name is Roz Cakes, and it was such a good cake. I mean, it was like fresh blueberries and I think it was cream cheese and stuff.
Oh my God.
That was an amazing cake.
And you contacted her and said, let me get one of your cakes.
Well, I like kind of stalked the Instagram and waited until every month she does like a drop, basically.
I've done that too. I DM'd a lady who lived in like somewhere weird in LA about when she was making a cake, and I met her in a parking lot in her neighborhood and bought one. It was like a drug deal.
I met this girl as well somewhere in the hills. Like, just went and picked it up myself, but it was really good. I didn't trust an Uber courier or anything. I wanted to make sure that it was safe, and I put the seatbelt on it. And
Oh my God, wait, Phoebe, this is a series for us. I think we could do a series on Instagram cakes and actually the process of going to get them. And I love that you put a seatbelt on it. See, you are my kind of person. That's all I have for you, Phoebe. Thank you.
Of course.
It's such a treat.
Thank you so much for listening to that fantastic episode. Please like, subscribe, and all that business. It does really help the podcast. And most importantly, come join me on Substack. Substack is where I'm showing the video of the entire episode that you just listened to. So find me on Substack if you want to dig in a bit deeper to the subjects that we talked about in this episode. See you there.